Hello, good morning each and everyone. I am teacher Joshua Bifamengo, a teacher for chemistry, and I'm going to take you through today's video about how to handle Nlsc UCE Chemistry Paper 1, Section A, that is Item 1, and then Item 2. I'm doing it in partnership with the Jotra, with the Jotra Educational Consultants, people who provide for you good tests, mock examinations, good textbooks, and at the same time good item banks. So you can contact them on 0763528 or on their Airtel 07524683229. You'll be able to get them. This year is 2026 Sunday is when I'm actually taking you through this session. So our subject code is 545, and I want us to first of all know the details of the subject. The subject code is 545, and then number of papers are 2. We have paper 1, that is the theory part of it, then paper 2 or 3, that is the practical part of it. So the candidates will be assessed in knowledge, understanding, skills, and attitudes, stock values. So this first session, I wanted us to take it through actually 3 phases. Phase 1, paper 1, section A. Phase 2, paper 1, section B. And then phase 3, paper 2, practical, or paper 3. So for today, I'm going to talk about phase 1, paper 1, section A, that is item 1 and item 2. So we need to first of all know the format of the paper. This is a theory paper where you will be assessed on your knowledge, understanding, and the appreciation of chemistry concepts and values. So it spans actually 4 years of education. The items will be scenario based. That one you are very, very much aware of it. So what you need to know, this paper is actually having a duration of 2 hours. The structure is composed of 2 sections, section A and B. Total items, we have 6 items. We have 2 in section A, and then we have 4 in section B. So the 2 in section A are compulsory, and then the 2, I mean the 4 in section B, we have actually 2 parts. Part 1, which is having 2 items, you choose 1, and then part 2, we have 2 items, you also choose 1. So you are supposed to attempt in total 4 items, 2 compulsory ones from section A, and then 2 from from section B, 1 from part 1, and then 1 from part 2 of section B. So I want us to first of all go very fast to section A, and then we take through the detailed breakdown. Section A comprises of 2 items with broken tasks. Both items are compulsory, that one you are aware of it. This section emphasizes knowledge and values. Responses are to be written in the spaces provided. That one will be actually able to see it in the exam. So areas of assessment, the actually 3 main areas of assessment in section A. These areas, it's what actually we have: the category, suitability, and then advice. Those are the major areas. This one, as a student, you need to go in for the exam when you are aware that in section A, both item 1 and item 2, I'm expecting through 3 areas of assessment: category, suitability, and then advice. So for the case of category, what do we always focus on? We focus on identifying the category, what type of what they are talking about, with reason and example. Then area 2, that is suitability, we always talk about the functions or how the product works, or properties or characteristics or prediction of trends, depending on which item. Because I told you these 2 items, item 1 and item 2, they are different, and they have different topics where they come from, and even the approaches are different. But here we actually gave the whole overview for both item 1 and item 2. That's why I'm saying here functions, how it works, properties, characteristics, prediction of trends, and then among others. Then for area 3, that is advice. And here we always want you to give us the impact on the environment or life, explain it, then give us the mitigation. Then evaluation, we always want you to give us the user's application. Then even I mean in part item one, where you give us the evaluation in form of similarity and then differences. So here we gave actually the overview of all the two items, the areas which are set and then the focus. But we are going to go through the detailed breakdown for the two items uh, respectively, item one and then item two specifically. So each item is constructed from a different element of construct uh, and has a unique approach, and it comes from specific topics. That one I've already told you. These two items are coming from different topics. Item one is having its own topics, and even item two has its own topics. Now, section A, item one, we always appreciate the application of chemistry in our daily life, and these are the topics which are set. You need to go for this. You need to be ready for this item one. How are you going to be ready for this item one? Is by actually going when you know all these topics. We have chemicals for consumers, we have food additives, we have medicines, we have detergents, and then nuclear process. That is, those are the topics which are set in item one of section A. Then topics which are set in item 2 of section B. First of all, what you need to know is that this item always appreciates the diversity and interactions of substances and their importance in life. So the topics which are set, we have elements, we have compounds, and the mixtures. Then we have the periodic table, trends in the periodic table, we have structure and bonding, we have formulae, stoichiometry, and the molar concept. Then we have using materials, we have carbon in life, where we talk about biogas, polymers, and plastics. Then we have the reactivity series, where we talk about the alloys, and then we have air, where we talk about rusting and combustion. I'm going to be a little bit fast, so you need to be very, very, very attentive. So we need now to understand how are we supposed to approach the question is the items in section A. So I told you section A is having two items, item 1 and item 2. So we are going to go through the detailed approach for item 1 and then the detailed approach for item 2. So and as I told that we have three areas of assessment in section A, that is category, suitability, and then advice. So under category for item 1, let us first of all begin with this item 1 and then we even have an example on it. So category 1, sorry, the first the first area of assessment, which is category for item 1. How are you supposed to approach this item? So here, when they ask you about category and it is item 1, always just identify for us the category or type of of the product they are talking about. Now, if they talk about detergent, you need to know the types or categories there. If you talk about consumer chemicals for consumers, you need to tell us the products, which I mean the categories of the products there. When you talk about nuclear processes, always make sure that you know the two types or categories. When you talk about the medicines, you need to actually know the two categories. Then suitability under item 1, you are supposed to give us the functions or how the product works. In most cases, this is what we want for suitability in item 1. Give us the function. If they're talking about detergents, meaning you're supposed to give us the how detergents works. How detergent works. If they're talking about medicine, tell us how the medicine works. If they're talking about nuclear processes, either fission or fusion, tell us how it works. So that is for the case of stability. We are going to have an example on it. Then advice, what are you supposed to tell us when they talk about advice in this part? In item 1, when they talk about advice or advice so and so on how to handle this and this is how you're supposed to handle this question. Always give us the impact of the product they are talking about on the environment or life, then explain it very well. After explaining it, give us the mitigation measure or the solution for that challenge. Always give us one. Then after giving us the impact explanation and then mitigation, go on and evaluate for us by giving us the uh, similarity and then the difference. That is how you're supposed to handle this part. That is advert. That is item 1 approach. So I think before we go to this item 2 approach, let us first of all have an example on this item 1 and then we see how it is answered. So we have an example I've given you here the scenario and then the responses. Now, for the case of this item one, they brought a question about detergents. Actually, the topic is detergents, which was brought. So, the scenarios here, they said Onyela lives in an area where they use borehole water. He slid and fell, and his white shirt became dirty. He decided to use a detergent to clean his shirt. The shirt remained dirty with some brown spots, yet he had rinsed it several times. So here, what you need to know before even answering, you need to know that I'm going to be examined about three major areas of assessment: category, suitability, and then advice. But the topic is detergents, meaning I need to know the two categories of detergents. That is the soapless and then the uh, soapy detergents, soapless and then soapy detergents. Now they have talked about water. You need to know that we have the soft and then hard water. And what knowledge do you need to know about this? What you need to know, we know very well that hard water or the soapy detergents are only good in hard water and not in are only good in soft water and not in hard water. And you need to know that the soapless detergents, for them, they are good in both. So that is the knowledge that you need to know about. Then what you need to know uh, how detergents work, because it's going to be asked in the suitability. You need to be aware of that. So let us go to the first uh, task. So the first task was point out the problem Onyera made when choosing a product. So here, what are you supposed to tell us? As I already told you, the approach for 81 part A, which is about the category, or is just identify for us the category or type. No need for giving us an example or defining or reasoning. Just identify for us the category or type. So here is the answer, actually the suggested answer. Just come and tell us Onyera chose a soap detergent instead of a soapless detergent. Or just tell us he should have used a soapless detergent. Because they've said Onyera slid and then his white shirt fell in what? That. And then when he went for washing, he washed and agitated the cloth very well, but still the cloth wasn't clean. Meaning, remember, he used borehole water, and that is hard water. And we know very well that the type of detergent which is not good in hard water is soap detergent. Meaning this Onyera must have used soap detergent. That's why we said Onyera chose a soap detergent instead of a soapless detergent. Or you can say he should have used a soapless detergent. As simple as that. Then part B, which is under this assessment area suitability, they said help Onyera understand how the product works or how it works. Here, go on and tell us how the product works. The cleansing action of soap. So, tell us detergents are surfactants and work by facilitating the emulsification, the removal of grease. A detergent has two parts: the alkyl tail, which is fat soluble, and then the head, which is water soluble. The fat soluble part penetrates grease where the water soluble part remains in water. The grease is split up into tiny globules which are then carried away by the water. So there we are answering to stability or how the product works or the function. That is the stability. Then part B, the last part, they always wanted the advice. They said advise Onyera on the challenges associated with the long-term use of the product. What do they need here? They want you to give the advice to Onyera. And I told you, for the case of advice here, always give the impact on the environment or life, then go on and explain for us. After explaining for us, go on and then give the mitigation measure. After that, give us the evaluation. How are you going to evaluate? Give us the similarity and then the difference. Now, which similarity and difference? We have two detergents, the soap and then the soapless detergent. So what are you going to evaluate? Evaluate between these two, the soap and then the soapless detergent. Give us one similarity between these two and then give us the difference between these two. So that is item 1. That is item 1. So they can bring medicines, go on and tell us the two categories. They can bring it, and then they want you to give this the category depending on how you have read the scenario. Please read it and understand it, and then give us the answer. Then suitability, when talk about medicines, give us how the medicines work. When they talk about advice, go on and give us the impact of what they're talking about, explain it, mitigate. Then after that, evaluate. Now if they're talking about medicines, give us the difference between the natural and then synthetic medicines. Then from there, give us the similarity. There you will have actually given us the advice. If it is nuclear processes, we have nuclear fission and fission, fission and then fusion. Go on and uh, tell us all what they want in that part. The good thing, I've actually told you the approach for that. Now let's go to item 2. Item 2 is also having its approach. Item 2 is having its approach. I told you the topics which are set there. I outlined them here. Elements, compounds, and mixtures. We have the periodic table. We have trends in the periodic table. Structure and bonding, formulae, stoichiometry, and then mole concept. We have using materials. We have carbon in life, biogas, polymers and plastics, reactivity cells. We have talk about alloys. Then air, where we talk about rusting and combustion. So item 2 is having its own approach also. I told it they share the areas of assessment. They also item 2 is also having category, suitability, and then advice. So category, we have its approach also for item 2. Identify the categories with the reason and then example. Then suitability, here you are supposed to give us the properties or characteristics or prediction of trends depending on which topic has been brought. For example, if they bring the topic predictable, if they bring the topic trends in the predictable, now you're supposed to predict for us the trends. If they bring about materials, tell us the properties or characteristics. As simple as that. Then for the case of advice in item 2, how are you going to give the advice? Here you are supposed to evaluate the choice. How are you going to do it? Give us the use or application. Then after that, give us an impact of what you're talking about on the environment or life, and then give us the mitigate. Explain it and then give us the mitigation measure. So let's have an example for that. An example of item 2 and then how to answer it is here. So item 2 example, have the building materials. Building materials. So this is the topic where they brought the topic is was using material. This is taught in senior one. So scenario, uh the scenario, Peter is in the process of constructing his house without affecting the environment. He wants to build a good strong house. There are various building materials of different quality and properties on the market. However, he does not know the quality of materials to use. Peter knows that choosing quality materials depends on the nature of the material and has come to you for advice. So, how are you going to handle this question? The question is about using materials. How are you going to handle this question? So, I told you we have the areas of assessment, we have the categories, suitability, and then advice. Now, this part they are telling, explain the categories of materials. What are you going to uh, answer here? How are you going to answer here? Just know this part A is coming from the area of assessment, which is category. How are you going to do it? Identify the categories with the reason and then example. Take an example. This is how I answered this. Say a material is a substance used to make an object. Materials can be natural or artificial or synthetic. So natural materials come from living things, for example, wood, while artificial materials are made by man, for example, plastics. So here you have already given us the categories and then the reason and then example. So uh, there you even qualify to get all the scores because they've given us the categories, they've given us the reason and the example. Here the definition is working as the reason, and then the examples we have already given them out. Then they've said explain the suitability of the material. Here they were even very clear. They wanted you to explain the suitability of the material. Just give the suitability. So here, what are you going to do? Give us the properties or characteristics of the materials they're talking about. They always give you the supporting material in the picture. So these questions always have the pictures. So those ones always supporting material. So here, iron is very strong, so it can support heavy load. So here, when you're giving us the property, give us the property, tell us how that property is important or is suitable in what they are talking about. So the scenario you're talking about constructing the house. So give us the property of iron and how that property makes it this iron is suitable for the construction of the house. So here I come and say iron is very strong, so it can support heavy loads. It is easy to mold into different shapes and has a high melting point to resist fires. Then go on, we even have wood. Wood is cheap and easy to get. It is light when dry and yet strong, so it is easy to lift. Go on and tell us glass is transparent because we even use glass in construction of our houses. So glass is transparent to allow light pass through and can give the house an attractive appearance due to a high refractive index. I think you can see how things are coming on well. So under the part of advice, how are you going to do it? Advice, here I told you you're supposed to give us one use stock application, give us one danger to the environment, then explain it and then mitigate it. That is advice. For item 2, remember these two items have different approaches. You need to go on and check that explanation for that item 1, the way I explain it very well. So here you're supposed to give us one use or application, one danger to the environment, explain it and then mitigate. There you will have done with giving us the advice. So here you can say, for example, glass can be fixed as window panes in transparent windows that allow light through and in bathroom enclosure. That is a use already or application. Now go on and give us the danger or challenge or uh, danger or challenge, then explain it and then mitigate. So here we say glass is very brittle and easily breaks. It has sharp edges which can cause even deep cuts. Therefore, when installing glass, one should wear protective gloves and handle it with care. So this one is a mitigation measure and this one is a challenge or danger. So that's how we handle item 1 and then item 2 of this section A. So I gave possible categorizations in the different topics in item 2. For example, in the periodic table, we have metals and non-metals. Those are the categories. In in the periodic table, always give the position of the metals and then non-metals. Then reactivity series always give us pure metals and then alloys as categories. Then under using materials, always give us natural and then synthetic materials. Then bonding, structure and properties give us, we have the metallic or giant metallic, we have ionic or giant ionic, and then covalent or giant molecular. That is that. Then stability, we always want properties. Here predicting properties in relation to position. Then difference in properties of pure and then alloys for the case of this. Then properties for the case of materials. Then physical properties for the case of bonding, structure, and then properties. Advice, that one I've already actually taken you through how to handle it. So when categorizing for item 2, always give, identify or define. So after identifying the category, define or give a reason, then you give an example. So this is the brief overview of section A. How many items? There are 2. Where will you rate the answers? In the spaces provided. In how many areas will you be assessed? There are 3 areas. What are those 3 areas? Categorizing, suitability, and advice. When you categorize, always remember to mention categories, define, and then give examples where necessary. Where necessary. That is for item 2. Yeah. Then suitability in item 1, always we emphasize you to give how the product works or functions. Then suitability in item 2, we always emphasize properties at least 4. Then advice for item 1, give an impact, explain, mitigate, similarity, and then difference. Then advice for item 2, one use or application, one impact, and then explain, and then mitigation. Thank you for listening. We shall meet in the next video when we talk about uh, the section B, that is part 1, and then part 2. Thank you for listening.